Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Hurdle the Line. This is our week 11 preview show. I am your host, Fletch, and with me today is just the legend himself, Karl. How are we, sir?
I'm still celebrating from Sunday. How do you think I feel?
Congratulations, congratulations. Uh,
uh,
a,
no,
a win, a win that impresses both of us because you beaten one of our division rivals and got yourself a win. Congratulations.
yeah, I mean, I weren't expecting that as a victory for us, but no, it's always nice to be celebrating. But move on to the next week, and yeah,
Most
a lot has happened in the NFL this week. Let's put it that way.
It has. Most people did not expect it. I don't think anyone really expected it going into this week.
Although I did refer to you as an SOB in our Pick'em show, where I just baited you to pick the Bears just for the sake of picking the Bears, and you just went for the Patriots. So well done for going against your moral judgment there.
I I've always said I like to remain consistent in who I am, and I said this to a friend yesterday. I said, look, I'm nothing if I'm not reliable and consistent with my approach. Um, Even against better judgment and better information, I will stick to my beliefs. Um, But that's neither here nor there right now. There is a couple of house things I want to go through before we get into week 11, and I'm very, very excited to go through a lot of the things in week 11 this week. Got a really good show for everybody. However, the couple of house bits just I'm very, very, very impressed recently because as most of you will know, I kind of run a lot of this stuff. I sit there throughout the week, I'm checking all the numbers, I'm checking all the stats, and I've been so grateful that for the last few weeks, every number's in the green. Like everything, every little percentage is in the green. It's all going up, and we are so grateful to have more and more of you tuning in every single episode, every single week. So, so super grateful. Thank you. But one of the things I think that is for me very important is I think if you listen to these shows, whether it's college football or this one, I think if you with us, like, you're with us. You are part of the network. I see you as part of the network, as part of the wider broader thing. And with that in mind, not all of you follow our socials. Not all of you have us on social media. So if you listen to the pod, we'd love to. We'd love to have you as part of our wider network. So the links are in the description of the episode. If you're on YouTube, they're right there, like right there. Carl, show them right there. The Yeah, the links are right there. If you are on audio only in your podcast provider, there will be a description section. It depends sometimes on which podcast provider you use on where they are, but there are links in there to our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky now because we're on Blue Sky because of everyone that's transferring over to the nice one. The TikTok, I've been working really hard at TikTok the last few days. And more importantly, I think my favorite one is Discord. And Discord is where it all pops off. And we spoke to you a couple of weeks ago about our brand new sponsor, Fantasy Game Day, the first and only NFL daily fantasy app made by the in the UK for the UK. Incredible sponsors. Now, we do our little segment here each week, don't we, Carl? Now, where we're going to talk about our picks for who we're looking at in the weekend, some of our good value picks. We're going to get even deeper in the Discord. We know, I like to think we know our stuff to a certain extent. We're not going to share too much on here. We're going to share you some ideas, but if you come into our Discord, we'll talk through our picks with you. We'll go through our lineups and we'll have a proper look. We'll go through it together. Come and ask us questions. Sam is our fantasy expert, and Karl is like our fantasy expert. Well, you're a 1A, 1B team between you. Um,
Yin and yang, you could really say.
yin and yang, 1A, 1B. Um, but please, yeah, look, the Discord. Anyway, that's my house. It's gone on a little bit longer than I kind of planned it to, but that's our in-house things that I wanted to talk about today. So let's get started properly on the episode. Where's my episode little thing gone? There we are. First off, have we got any news? Any real news this week from the NFL?
So obviously the firing of
Yep.
offensive coordinator Waldron for the Chicago Bears, which is not at all surprising after their defeat to the Patriots over last weekend. Um, it looks like I can't remember who the name is now. I'm not 100% sure. He was basically the offensive coordinator for Carolina last year. Let's just say that didn't pan out that well. Um, the way I look at this is basically the same sort of move that the Jets did,
Yeah.
except for this one, they didn't fire the head coach.
Yep.
They've kept the lame duck head coach, they've kept the lame duck GM, but they fired the OC. And yeah, okay, the OC was having issues, but how has Eberflus managed to hang on to his job? I've got absolutely no idea. I like to think the way it continues, he will get fired eventually because you can't continue to just be this bad before you get fired as well.
Yeah.
Um,
That's
so
something to talk about a little bit later on. We've got plans for that exact conversation
yeah, no, that's
going
fine.
forward.
That's fine.
Um,
Uh,
anything else you've seen?
so a little bit of news from obviously from my team. Defensive now. When we looked at the start of the season, one of our main players on defense, defensive tackle Christian Barmore, was out with blood clots, and we kind of assumed that he would be
Yeah.
he'll be out for the season. He was at practice today
Oh, lovely.
in slacks. In slacks, he wasn't in pads. He was in slacks.
Right.
So for his first little bit of partial training that he did today, which is great news. It means that he could potentially come back this year. Although, to be honest, I generally feel like if we were sitting at like 5-5, 6-4 in the playoff spots, we say, yeah, let's get him back in, and he'll be our big push on defense for the playoffs. But when you're sitting at 3-7 and you really have to run the table now to make the
Yeah.
playoffs, it's all but a lost cause, really. But it's great to have him back. So that'll be good. That'll be good to know. Once again, the Cowboys make themselves look fools again. CD Lamb having a whinge about the fact the sun was blinding him and that sort of thing, which is,
Yeah.
I
That's
mean, the whole point. The whole point when you design a stadium is that you design it from north to south, not east to west. There is a reason for that,
yep.
and it's not the first time this has happened either.
No, but
No,
you would think that it would be one of the first times that's happened to a cowboy. Because well, opposing players would hopefully not be used to it, but your Cowboys would be used to it. Apparently not.
it's just stupid,
Well,
absolutely stupid.
I watched a clip of the New Heights episode where, and obviously Travis and Jason Kelce were talking about it, and Travis Kelce was talking about how much of a pain in the backside it is playing at the Cowboy Stadium in that glare. But I don't think much needs to be said about how Jerry Jones organizes things
No.
and his quality of product that he likes to create. Um, yes, it's always worth a lot of money, but it's never worth what you pay what was paid for it. Um,
Well,
I don't
apparently,
have any real news from that side.
just as a caveat, when AT&T Stadium hosted WrestleMania, they had the curtains down.
Yeah.
They had the curtains down, so it's not like so it's not like that they couldn't do it. They just decided not to on
Well,
that particular day, which is well quite foolish. You look at the weather report, goes, is that sun going to get through these windows? Yes, right. Let's put the curtains down on it then, so it doesn't
yeah,
blind our players.
how you don't turn around and go, hang on, what do we need to think of, right? What are things we need to think of? The sun. Oh, no, that'll be fine. We can deal with that. We can deal with that. No, you can't. You can't control the weather. You are not a god. Um,
No, because we've
but
got no, because we've got bigger things to worry about,
let's get
like how to run the ball or how to stop the run or why is Cooper Rush so shit? I don't know.
but let's get this topical. Let's hit an algorithm right now. We can hit an algorithm while it's popular. on Friday, something's happening at AT&T Stadium, and I would love for Jerry Jones's terrible stadium to feature as part of what happens when Jake Paul gets knocked the fuck out by Mike Tyson on Netflix. Um, could you imagine that excuse after it? Like Mike Tyson delivers a final punch. Jake Paul's on the floor after the game. They do after the fight. They do the little in the ring interview, and he's just like, honestly, the sun was in my eyes. I couldn't see. I couldn't see the
There'll be no
punch.
excuses because it's on at 8:15. It's on at 8:15 Eastern, so they can't make that excuse.
The sun will be well. They'll be light. It'll be fine. Um. Anyway, I think moving on. Because like I said, I haven't got much news myself this week. Let's get on to the main stuff. So the Chiefs won again at the weekend. Are you surprised?
They can't keep getting away with this. As I'm using my Aaron Paul reference there. Um, um, when the Patriots had their dynasty runs and so on, everyone hated their guts and so on. Well,
Yeah,
now they're completely dead. Unfortunately, the spirit of them has invaded another host, Kansas City.
yeah,
Every game this season, they have found a way to pull the magic rabbit out of their you know what. And this one last week took the cake. Special team play right at the end. This is something.
yeah,
This is something you could send that to Disney and they can make money out of that. It's just
yeah,
it is getting it's brilliant way they're doing it because we done that a lot. We done that. We had either one game it was all on offense, one game's all on defense, one game special teams bailed us out. Next one it was coaching. One of the
yeah,
games the refs got involved. Okay, yeah, we will admit the refs did get involved in some of our games. Um, and now everybody else is witnessing what Kansas City are doing. And
yeah,
I could sit here and be very angry and go effing and blinding all the way through this, but I saw this with my team. I know what the Chiefs are doing, and that's why I have to give them their flowers for. It's annoying. It's like having it's like having a spot on your back you can't itch,
yeah,
but
yeah,
it's there. And KC, that yeah, they're a very good team. They are relying solely on their defense, so to bail them out of their incompetence. So, and I think they've got some games coming up down the stretch, which they will test them offensively. They will be tested.
yeah. So looking onto that topic, because what I want to get onto, and Tom, if you are listening, which obviously you are because you are one of the hosts of this show, and you support the rest of the all the time. But anyway, we're gonna have a lot. We're gonna look at the Chiefs here, and I don't want to pile on the media takes. I don't want to jump on the social media takes. I don't want us to be parroting what everybody else is saying in a Facebook comment section because that's not who we are. Oh, yeah, if our comments were on Facebook, Karl, your account had been banned a long time ago, and I'd be
Very.
and there's a reason I've been kicked off Facebook 4 times. Um. And to the point, they're going to start banning my IP address soon, I think. Um, but I keep getting banned off Facebook, so there's a reason why we're not going to do Facebook comment section quotes. But let's talk about this Chiefs team for a minute, or for a little bit. Now, 9-0. 34 teams in NFL history have gone 9-0 to start the season. One of them being this year's Kansas City Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
They actually did it in 2003 as well, the Chiefs, and no, I think that's the only time they've ever gone 9-0 in. No, they went 9-0 2013 as well, before Mahomes. So they were good before Mahomes.
Yeah.
In recent history, you've had the Colts who did it in 2006, Tennessee who did it in 2008, Pittsburgh did it in 2008, 20, Panthers who did it in 2015, the Packers who did it in 2011, Saints in 2009,
Which is when they won the Super
Patriots
Bowl.
2015, Chiefs 2003, Colts again 2005. What else have we got in the 2000s? Patriots 2007. Um, those are just ones in the 2000s. Out of all of them, guess which of those has the lowest total point differential over the games?
Has to be the Chiefs, surely.
Has to be the Chiefs. Which Chiefs?
This year's.
This year's Chiefs. So they have a point differential of 58. 9-0, their point differential is 58. That averages 6 points a win.
Mm. As I said to you in the green room when I was scrolling through X earlier on today, there was someone who put a graphic up of the conferences of the AFC and the NFC, but the slight little tweak he made was teams that had won games within a score or less. If that was flipped the other way, Kansas City would be 2-7.
Yeah.
They have won a lot of one-score games, either by their defense or by special teams or by pulling the magic horseshoe out of their backside on offense. Um, I'm not knocking them. I just feel like that's not sustainable.
No,
I feel like the left tackle position is still worrisome for me. Any good pass rusher could just fit on the backup left tackle, and Mahomes is in massive trouble. Um, it doesn't surprise me.
no.
But for the lowest, yeah, defensively, they haven't put as many points on the board, and their defense has been carrying them.
Yeah. But for the sake of like just to see the other side of things, the two joint best point differentials for a 9-0 team. 231. That was Green Bay in 1962 and Chicago in 1942. 231 point differential. Now, if you divide 231 by 9, you get 25 and two thirds. You are averaging a winning margin of 26 points a game in them. That's dominance. That's a four-score
Yeah.
game that you're playing with right there. Even with
Mm.
2 point conversions, you can't make that a three-score game. That is a You are winning by bare minimum four scores almost every week. Whereas the Chiefs, you're winning by a score, a single score every week. And with all due respect, and I think there's one thing I'm not playing. I don't play the refs game. I'm not playing it. Every team gets questionable calls in their favour and against them. I don't care. You can argue on a couple of them of whether it was an opportune time of the call. But at the end of the day, there is 60 minutes of football games and 200 other snaps that were played. You got to do better on them ones as well. You can't put it down to that one screwed you. No, it didn't. The end of the day, they're winning. And I think the true stat that matters is what's in the W column,
And
what's
what's
in
in
the
the
L
L
column.
column? Then I don't know.
And the night they've got none in the L one. And I do think it's worth looking at. We all remember the Pittsburgh 2020 season, the
Yes.
COVID year. They went what did you
11 and
say?
0.
It was 11 and 0.
They went 11 and 0 until they ran into Washington. And that was when the decline started. Then they lost to another team. Then they lost to the Bungles. And Cincy were banged up to hell and back, and yet they somehow still managed to win that game. They beat the Colts to go through, and then I think they lost the last game. Not quite who to. And then
Uh,
obviously and then they lost in the wild card round against Cleveland, obviously.
well, the Steelers 2020. Let's have a look. Regular season. Yeah, Washington, because that was when
Yep.
Washington were the football team.
Yep.
3 in a row. Football team, Bills and Bungles. Then beat the Colts to go 12-3 and lost to the Browns in the last game of the season.
Ah, okay.
And the postseason, Was the Browns? Yeah. Oh yeah, because they played the Browns twice in a row.
The first snap of the game was Pounce. He's snapping the ball way too high over the head of Roethlisberger, and I think it was Miles Garrett or it was one of the defensive ends of the Browns just scooped up and went in for a touchdown on the
Yeah.
fumble on the botched snap. And as soon as that was in, I was like, right, that's it. Browns are winning this game. There's no way the Steelers are winning this game. That set the tone in that
Yeah.
game.
Well, the only other team, because I asked you before about the Eagles last season, and I said I'm sure I feel like they went 9-0. They didn't. They went 10-1, but they lost week 6. So they went 5-0, 5-1, up to 10-1. So they didn't get like they did lost in the middle of that because I thought that was a very similar experience to the 2020
I
Steelers
always
where they were 10-1, and then everything just kind of went.
I remember when Cincinnati they went on a very very long way. I can't remember. Was it 2015? Was it 2015 season or 2016 season? It was one of those 2 years. I think they went something like 9-0 or 10-0. I believe they did. They were on a really good one. This is when they had Andy Dalton at
Yeah.
quarterback, by the way. Um, they lost, but they still ended up with the second or third seed. It was one of those two, and then they go and lose to Pittsburgh in the wild card round, thanks to Vontez Burfict trying to kill freaking Antonio Brown, and then Pac-Man decided to push the ref during a melee. About
Yeah.
one thing you don't do in the NFL, ladies and gentlemen, you don't touch the fucking ref.
Nope. It's a bad idea. But and this is a thing, and but the one thing I'll say to this is because well, I guess my next question to kind of gets to I guess starting that spiral, starting maybe a spiral because there's just a game, and one thing we know in the NFL is winning is a really difficult habit to get. It's really difficult to get going, but losing on the other hand is a really easy habit to
But
pick
it's
up.
a shit house to get out of.
And it's a shit house to get out. You're right, it's a shit house to get out of.
Mm-hmm.
60 years of it. Um, but winning is so, and it can take 10-0, 11-0 teams and turn them into nobodies in 3 weeks. Losing is that kind of habit that you can pick up. So, and I'm not saying this will be the Chiefs, but there's always a game, and I think there is. Can you remind me who's the only team over the last few years, well, after in this century, to go unbeaten during a regular season, Carl? Do you know who that is?
That'll be the Dolphins, wouldn't it?
This century,
Oh, this century.
during the regular season, went unbeaten.
That'll be my team, the Patriots.
There we go. I was trying to set you up there to throw
Yeah,
that one.
sorry, I got the century. Yeah, centuries mixed up, but no Patriots. But unfortunately, it's all in vain. Just because you went 17-0, just because you won the divisional round in the AFC Championship, you still got to finish it off. You still got to win the Super Bowl, and
But
due to one of the most flukiest plays you've ever seen in your life, fortunately we didn't close the deal. Unfortunately, so it's all like this is why I get like when teams say, "Oh yeah, we could go the regular season undefeated and so on." That's all well and dandy. If you say you go into the number one seed, like because a 15-2 or 14-3 team, there's not pressure on you, but you're not going to go undefeated. Just you get there, get to the AFC or the NFC Championship, and then go and deal with the Super Bowl if you get there. Okay. When you go through the regular season, you go 17-0. The amount of pressure that gets put on you now to finish it off, because now people are now thinking this team can now go the full way. They can now go and win the Super Bowl and clean sweep this season. The amount of pressure that the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be under now for the next 8 to 9 weeks, it's going to be telling. It's going to be telling whether or not they're going to be able to do it, or eventually they're going to get found out.
yeah,
And I just think at some point down the line, they are going to get found out. Whether it's by the Bills this week, or the Steelers on Christmas Day, or the Texans later on, or even the Chargers. The Chargers were not too far away from beating them last time out. So and they got Justin Herbert's playing really well again as well. So
So
there are some games that
yeah.
KC could potentially lose, and I generally think they need to lose at least one, maybe two of those games. And the only reason why I say that is because then you just go into the playoffs knowing we're not going to go undefeated. Let's just get the job done.
Well, yeah, you also go into that hot. I'm not saying that the Chiefs will get complacent, but you walk into the playoffs thinking, well, we've not been beaten yet, so we can't be beaten. And then someone kicks you in the face and you kind of go, like that
Here,
hurts.
the worst thing for Kansas City could do if they go 17-0 and they're playing a divisional round and they get bounced.
Well,
What was that regular season all for?
what was the comment? Is this like a comment? I'm pretty sure it was one of the cartoon comedies that was like the bully walking around hitting everyone, and then one day he gets punched, and he kind of stands there and goes, "Is that what it feels like? That hurts."
Yeah,
But it's that whole you walk around kind of beating everybody up.
yeah.
And if you go into the playoffs being 17 okay, you scrape by a couple of them and whatnot, but you kind of don't know what losing tastes like. So you don't know how that, like, they've lost games before, but we're talking about you said that whole kind of like you don't know how to lose yet. But it means like you kind of need to learn to lose sometimes to learn how like to really truly get yourself out of the adversity.
Yeah, you do.
And but here I guess this comes to the point where it's like okay, there's 8 games left in a season. They've won 9. Can they win another 8? It sounds logically good, but when we know the sport, we know that's not how it works, right? So starting up this week, and they've got the Bills, then they've got that'll be the Bills away because Google does it not in the app way round, so it annoys me because I've got the Bills away,
Yep.
Panthers away,
They'll beat the Panthers.
Raiders at home, Chargers at home, Browns away, Texans at home, Steelers away, Broncos away.
The Browns could be a tricky customer if their defense is back up and running properly and Nick Chubb is starting to run the ball better. I think that could be the tricky customer. But for me, I think Pittsburgh, we haven't seen the Zoffers put up more than 20 odd points in God knows how many seasons.
Yeah,
And they, yeah, they got away with one. They got away with one against Washington last week. But they've got some tough tests. They've got some tough tests coming up.
yeah. Oh, I think. Look, at the end of the day, if anyone's going to beat them on paper, it's the Bills. On paper, the game that's going to slip them up is going to be the Bills. It's going to be this weekend. That's what the Panthers 3 weeks ago. You'd have laughed at them even being mentioned in the same name. I think a lot of Panthers, everyone around the league just kind of, I don't think wanted the game to be played. Just give the Chiefs the win. I don't let the Panthers go through that. Now, maybe they're feeling a little confident. Probably still think they're going to get beat, but it's
They
not going to be a
beat and
curb
they
stomping.
they beat the Giants. I mean, come the flip on.
No, I know, but I get winning is a hard habit to get going, and but to do it, you've got to win. And sometimes, I'm not saying this happens all the time, I'm not saying this is the case. Sometimes you get a win and then you get another one and then just things start to click a little bit. Things happen and you can never quite explain it other than just things start to work. They just start to come together. And I had so much enjoyment on Sunday seeing Bryce Young with a smile on his face. I like true, like from the
Mm.
bottom of my heart. I I sat there, watched Bryce Young throw. I think it might have just been a 5 yard to the sideline.
Five yard curl
Just
flat or
yeah,
flat
just
curls.
like a
Right.
5 yard flat. Just or it was like might have been a 5 yard hook. And they panned to him afterwards, and he was smiling and he was laughing and he was picking up the ball and getting ready to go to the. And I just thought, good for you, man. Like
Yeah.
you deserve. I don't think like you deserve to enjoy your day. playing, like doing your job. Anyway, that's not the point that I'm making. The Raiders divisional games will never be as cut and dry as they should be. Ever, ever. End of
No,
story.
don't never be.
Texans, I don't know how they can put on pads after Sunday. They should be utterly ashamed with themselves, the whole
Oh,
franchise.
yeah.
Um, the Steelers, that's that's a game for you, and uh, and the
It's
Broncos
on
again.
Christmas,
It's
and
a
it's on Christmas Day as well. It's on Christmas Day, so that's actually a really good game that the NFL have actually scheduled on for, because that'll actually be a decent game to watch.
listen. I want Santa can empty his sack in the morning, and TJ Watt will be doing his sacking in the
Phrasing.
evening. That's no, as that's a perfectly normal thing to say. Santa will enter my house in the evening, empty a sack in my living room, and if I've been really good, he'll do it in the bedroom as well. And then in the evening, we'll all sit down, we'll chill out, and we can watch TJ Watt get some sacks in. I fail to see what the issue is with what I've just said.
And that is the end of country file. Now back to your regular programming.
Sir, this is a Wendy's. Um, but on paper, at the end of the day, the Bills are where that slip up's gonna come. It's got to be the Bills. If they're going to slip up, it's got to be there. Surely away on the
You
road.
you would expect so. I think I saw the line earlier on today, and the Bills are -2 favorites. And for me personally, Chiefs should be favorites until someone knocks them off. My own personal opinion, but
This is why we're not in Vegas.
no,
We aren't in Vegas, and so
I'd be in
odds
trouble if I'm in Vegas. So
a
it's not the
lot of
point.
trouble. So would Vegas. Um, but I think, well, that's it. Realistically, if they beat the Bills at the weekend, surely 17-0, it becomes seriously in the realms of possibility. Even though you've got that's one, two, three divisional games left. I forgot for a second that the Chargers were in the same division as them. I don't know why. But that's three divisional games you've got left.
Mm.
Two of them two of them at home. So, having said that, I think there's only so much we can talk about on that is coaches. I want to talk about some coaches, and we've had this conversation slightly before. I want to have a positive start to the conversation about coaches, though, and let me get my tab back up. Coach of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Who's your pick? Who are you riding with for coach of the year right now?
I'm gonna say Mike Tomlin of
Interesting.
the Steelers, and the reason being why is we all sort of had the prediction at the back in preseason that the Steelers will probably finish rock bottom of the AFC North, because
Yeah,
you'd think the Ravens and Cincy, they're going to be the two challenging for that division crown. The Browns might take a step back, and well, unfortunately, they've taken more than a step back. We just thought the Steelers, surely their time's up now and they'll go back. But no, they are playing conventional, very good football. They are running the ball. They've always been known for the standards, the standard: run the ball, stop the run. That is Steelers football in a nutshell.
yeah.
What Mike Tomlin has done for that team has been absolutely fantastic this year. They've got it coming on offense as well, whether it was Justin Fields or whether it was Russell Wilson. They've got it humming on offense now. And George Pickens has become there's a reason why I wanted George Pickens in the draft a couple of seasons ago, because the guy is so talented. And you saw the acrobatic catch that he made against Washington last week was absolutely phenomenal. Um, they've got
And I wish I should have had two other touchdowns against, was it the Giants?
against
No,
the
the
G-men,
Giants.
yeah. They should have had against the G-men, yeah. Um, so yeah, I think Mike Tomlin deserves credit. And if he gets the Steelers to the playoffs, I'll go one further. If the Steelers win their division and say they win a playoff game, there's a good chance he could do it.
Well,
But unfortunately, that's going to get completely overshadowed if Andy Reid and the Chiefs do go regular season
Yeah,
17-0.
there's that, but don't forget that the voting takes place after the regular, like just before the playoffs, so it has to be regular season based. It can't. The playoffs have no real bearing on that result.
So
So
it'll probably, yes.
as you say that, Bet365 have a four-way tie
Mm-hmm.
for Coach of the Year. Andy Reid, Dan Campbell, Dan Quinn, and Mike Tomlin all at 9-2. Behind them is a joint in kind of a joint second is Jim Harbaugh and Kevin O'Connell at 11-2.
Yeah, I'll agree with
Now,
that. I'll agree with that.
I'm gonna go through these four with you, right? On my from my perspective. Number four out of them four is Dan Campbell. Out of out of hear me out, hear me out. And
Okay.
certain things depend on this. Like, this depends on certain things, but Dan Campbell has been coach of the year in air quotation marks, in my opinion, for a couple of years. Because he took okay, first year, no way. But he took a 3-13-1 Lions team to nearly at the playoffs and taking Green Bay out of the playoffs. Great. You've turned this franchise around. But maybe the first half of the season let him down. I get it. I understand it. Second season, look, you've taken a team that was nearly a playoff team to the first division title in 30 years, the first playoff home game in 30 odd years, the first playoff. I know it's a regular season's only what counts, but still, I'll add it in there. Not only your first playoff win in 30 odd years, you got two playoff wins.
Mm-hmm.
Until Dan Campbell arrived, the record for most playoff wins at Ford Field were the Steelers. They're not even in our division. They didn't play us in the playoffs. They won the
Mm.
Super Bowl there because it was a de facto neutral site game.
Yeah.
They had won more play. They had more postseason games at Ford Field than we had. So I think I get it. Right after that season, I get it. But I was yes, the Lions look a little bit better than they did last season, but he's taken a team from there to there, taken a team from there to there, not got it. But if he takes a team from there to there, I don't see how that. I want to see a coach take a team from down there. I'm not necessarily don't have to be down there, but I want the gap from where he took over to where they are to be significant. Which
Yeah.
is why the only reason I would have Andy Reid in there is because of what he could actually do. If he goes 17-0, that's an achievement that, well, only one of the teams gone 16-0 in the regular season. That's an achievement like no other. He's done something that very few others have ever had the opportunity to do.
Mm.
Mike Tomlin, I think they'll do what they normally do. I think the Ravens still will take that division. I think he'll find his way to get to 10-7 or 9-8, or do
They're
some
not going to
dumb.
collapse. No, no, no. They're not going to collapse that badly. I don't think the Steelers are going to collapse that badly.
But Dan Quinn for me took what we thought was a team that was going to fight with the Giants for the worst team in the league potentially
Mm.
to who I think could still take the East and very much within a
Yeah.
chance of taking the East and not doing it like like it was done 3-4 years ago because everyone was so bad that they're the ones who just tripped over the line at the end. They do it because they're the best team in that. They could be the best team in that division. Because I don't like this. I don't like the Eagles. I think they've always got it in them to
Especially with Nick Sirianni in charge,
exactly.
anyway.
It's Dan Quinn for me. It has to. It might. Well, I say it has to be. In my opinion, I can't think. Dan Quinn has taken a team down there, put them up there.
Remember, it's not just. Remember, it isn't just the team, it's the entire franchise.
Yeah,
It has been in a flipping mess for 20 odd years, thanks to the meddling of Dan Snyder. Now they've got Josh Harrison as their owner. They've put in proper football men in charge. They put a GM in Peters, who's done an absolute marvelous job so far. Dan Quinn is your head coach. Cliff Kingsbury is your OC, which is brilliant for any quarterback because he knows how to develop quarterbacks.
Yeah.
It was a match made in heaven. And this is why I did. And I know our good friend Ollie was raving so much about Caleb Williams. The, the reason why I chose Jaden Daniels is I think he is the better passer. But look at the men he has got around him when it comes to the coaching side of the ball. It is second to none to what the Bears have, and that is why I think JD, has been the better QB, and that's a testament to Dan Quinn and his coaching ability as well. Listen, if they end up winning the division, then he should be in the shout for coach of the year.
Yeah.
He should be.
Um, I think, but also one other thing I want to shout out there, and I get it that, well, Kevin Stefanski won it last year, right? I get it, and I'm biased in it because I wanted Dan Campbell to win it, but I get it. I'm not taking that away from Kevin Stefanski. He absolutely earned that. I think there were three coaches that could have taken that and truly earned it, with D'Amico Ryans being in there as well. But I look at why D'Amico Ryan should have been in there, and I get he was a complete rookie head coach, unlike Dan Quinn, who's been a head coach before. But he's doing it, and he's doing it with a rookie at QB who was the second overall pick, similar to D'Amico Ryans. The only difference is prior coaching experience. But for me, he's walked into that organization, and granted, part of that's now the new ownership. But anyway, the other bit I wanted to talk about with coaches, and we've kind of touched on this already, is the hot seat. Spoke about this on a couple of episodes. The hot seat. Um, Bloody hell! Let me get. Oh yeah, it'd be nice if we could write in English. I did have next NFL head coach fired, and the odds are per online bets. No, well they're getting through. I think it's MGM. Doug Peterson minus 125. Matt Eberflus plus 125. Brian Daboll and Mike McCarthy both plus 600.
How the hell's Matt Eberflus above Doug Peterson? I don't know. I generally don't know. At least with the Jet, at least with the at least with the Jags, at least they have some. They have talent on the offensive side of the ball. But they've also now lost their quarterback now for a lengthy period of time now. So it's not really fair on Peterson now that Lawrence is now out injured, but it won't help the fact. I think he'll be gone at the end. I think Black Monday after week 18, Black Monday, I think then he'll be released. I think he'll be gone personally. Matt Eberflus, what did I say last week? I said if the Bears lose to the Patriots, Eberflus deserves to be fired, and everybody else around him. And as I said in the news bracket, they only fired their OC. And I've got absolutely no idea whatsoever what that organization is doing. They are literally single-handedly killing Caleb Williams, just like they've done to Mitchell Trubisky, just like they've done to Justin Fields. They are not developing their quarterback in the way it should be. And Eberflus deserves to go. He deserves to go off that guy. If losing to Green Bay is one thing, but if you get absolutely shellacked by the Packers this weekend, you just got a clean house. And I think I saw a report, and I think it was rumors. I think it was bullshit. But apparently there was talks of some of the senior players were actually clamoring for Caleb Williams to be
Yeah,
benched. What the fuck? Excuse my language. What the fucking hell is that going to do?
I like that idea.
Why?
because I don't want to see a rookie quarterback get his backside pummeled and his career over before it truly gets a chance to start.
Yes, but then but then that's Eberflus's get out of jail free card. So he's benching Caleb Williams to put Badgett in there just so he can freaking say he will only do that to save his job.
That O line is
It's awful.
disgusting.
It's awful. They
It's
gave up nine
disgusting.
sacks to a Patriots rush defense that has got no rushing defense whatsoever, bar Keelan White.
It's no, I'm just saying it's a disgusting O line, and I've said this throughout the season so far. I don't mind what Caleb Williams is doing, and a lot of the problems I'm seeing Caleb Williams have start and stop on the offensive line.
It starts on the offensive line, but it carries on further. If you go through his tape, obviously you won't because you're a Detroit Lions fan, so that's understandable. But I did actually go through some of his tape. I actually rewatched the game against the Patriots, so I was like, because I can, because we won and so on. But I wanted to see how he's holding onto the ball for far too long. And I timed a few of them. He's sitting in the pocket for more than 5 seconds.
Well,
In the NFL, it's 1, 2, 3, get that ball out. 1, 2, 3, get that ball out.
but it's the thing, and I'll add this on as well, though, right? Okay, then maybe it doesn't start and stop with the offensive line. It starts with the offensive line. It finishes with receivers as well, though. Receivers aren't getting open. Cole Kmet, he had that thing going with Cole Kmet for a little bit, but I mean, I was watching, was it DJ Moore giving up on plays? DJ Moore walked off the field halfway through a play not long ago. Like
That
might
was
have been
two
at the
weeks
weekend,
ago.
might have been the
Yeah.
week before. DJ Moore walked off the field halfway through a play. I've seen 3 plays in which the receiver ran the wrong route. So part of my argument here then is just that, like, yeah, okay, there are things he's gonna have to work on, but at the end of the day, he's a rookie, right? I think certainly you can put a lot of his problems down to being a rookie and getting used to the NFL, and you have to learn how your game needs to improve in the NFL. But the only way you can do that is by seeing those problems in real time.
But it is still coaching at the end of the day. Listen, you
Coaching,
don't
coaching plays a big part.
coaching
Coaching plays a big part.
absolutely matters in the NFL, especially when you're trying to develop a rookie quarterback, especially one which we traded picks for Carolina. You took their number one pick just so you can get Caleb Williams. This is the most talented quarterback this franchise has ever had. But one thing has always remained a constant with the Chicago Bears franchise as a whole. They don't
Cursed,
know how to develop quarterbacks.
cursed at the position. I genuinely did this. There was Bobby Lane's curse at the Lions. Someone's done something similar to the Bears QB room.
I'll say this. I've gone back for the other two QBs. Okay, Justin Fields and Mitchell Trubisky. They both had lame duck coaches. They both had lame duck offensive coordinators. If I'm the Bears organization, I think right, Eberflus ain't working. We need to do something different. Even if you keep him off to the end of the season, you fire him on Black Monday. Do you know who the first person I'll be going for?
Who?
Lincoln Riley. He coached Caleb Williams all through high school and that. He went through so many teams as his coach. He knows Caleb Williams inside and out. And here's the thing as well. When you're an OC and you see him hang on to the ball too long and he's waiting for plays to develop, what happened just to quickly check down to your running back or throw in the flat to your slot receiver or something? Just get that ball out quickly. If your line's not helping you, you've got to get that ball out or take off. But he's waiting for the play to develop. You're not in USC anymore. This is not the NCAA. You're not going to have 5-6 seconds to sit in the pocket and read a book and then throw the ball. You're not going to get that time. And that is down to his OC, but it's also down to Eberflus as well. Sometimes he's just got you can't just let the play develop.
Yeah.
You've just got to look. Jaden Daniels is a prime example. He's not waiting for the play to develop. He's looking down the field. If he sees someone just slightly a tad open, he's getting that ball out and he's getting it. It might be the most tightest window. But if the receiver comes down with it, that's a brilliant throw and that's a great catch. Why? Because he's anticipated that receiver's going to get half a yard open. He's going to get out. Caleb Williams is waiting for his receiver to actually have open in the same bloody space as where I am right now. It's not going to happen in the NFL. And look, I'm not trying to bog down on the kid. I think he's a talented QB, but he has got to start learning very, very quickly because I'll say this: I will give him 9, 10 months, and if he keeps on doing this, there's going to be a time where it's not just going to be the players that are going to stop believing in him. He's going to stop believing in himself. And the minute any quarterback thinks like that, the NFL don't want you in your league anymore.
Yeah.
And this is why the Bears have got to get it right now. They have got to get it right. If they fire Eberflus, you better get the right OC in. You better get the right head coach in.
Um, yeah.
That's the end of my rant. Anyway.
No, and I think that's going to be a good place to leave that situation. But it's so okay. No, the question I want to ask, and this is as quickly as we can with this answer:
Yeah.
Doug Peterson and Matt Eberflus. Bear in mind, bear in mind. I want to give you this bit of context with both of these teams. The Jaguars right now are about to go and play a Detroit Lions team that have just got Zadarius Smith playing for the first time.
And they've got Mac Jones
And
at
they've got
quarterback.
and they've got Mac Jones. The Jags have Mac Jones starting, and the Lions are about to correct a shockingly they've just had such a shockingly bad game on offense that there's no way Ben Johnson will let anything come close to that again. And number two, Zadarius Smith. The Lions have a pass rush again.
Yeah.
So you've got that in Ford Field.
That's not a sackable offense, though. If you get
I,
absolutely walloped by Detroit, that's
I
not a
think
sackable
I
offense.
think that there are scores that are respectable and they change from game to game. But if it's not a respectable score, in fact, what's the spread on that game? I need to know the spread on the Lions game right now.
I think it's got to be something like -9 or -10. Has to be.
I'd say I'm not gonna say the spread because that'd be. I think the Lions will like whatever it is. The Lions will probably end up covering it. I don't care if I sound cocky. I think the Jags are that bad and we're that good. But there it is. There it is. -14 for the Lions. I think that's fine for me. In
Yeah,
fact, I would go with a more than two score win for the Lions. I'm that confident I'll be that cocky.
I'll
But
be sticking out. I'll be sticking out on my parlay.
if it's
So
four scores, if the Lions win by four scores, if we do to the Jags what we did to the Titans or did to the Cowboys, they've got a bye week
mm,
straight after.
mm.
I think that could realistically at this point for them just to
But
say, do you
what's
know
it
what?
gonna?
Go
But
away.
but what's it gonna? But what's it gonna help? What's
Re
their what's the record right now? What are they 2-7 or two
Yes.
and
Yeah.
they're
I
two
think.
and seven. Hang on, we're in week 11 now. So unless they've had that bye week already, unless they're 2-8,
I don't say the bye week. Yeah, 2-8, 2-8, 2-8.
they're sitting at 2-8. If you get absolutely if you had the smackdown laid on you by Detroit and you go 2-9, what's the point of firing Doug Peterson? What, just to get another new head coach so you can win a few more games? You're killing your draft position then.
Well, I'm not. It's not even that. I'm not saying it, but there's a. You can't change 53 men in a year. It can't happen.
No,
You can't do it.
Jags don't need
So
to. No, Jags don't need to
no, but that's not what
worry
I'm saying.
about.
What I'm saying is the last thing you want. You've got 5 games to at least get some morale back in that room, because you don't want them going into the off season going, I don't want to come back. I don't want to come back. I don't want to come back. Give them something to want to come back for next year. I saw it with the Lions a few years ago when we fired Patricia with a few games to go left in the season. The season was done, but Darrell Bevel re-injected just a bit of energy into the team. He just it was you get the negative, just get the negative thing out. And I know that Matt Patricia was a different kind of negative than Peterson. I'm not saying he's a bad head coach or a bad. Matt Patricia was a bad person from everything we knew. He was a dick. I'm going to stop here because I can get on a real tangent on this one.
Yeah,
But Matt Patricia was one, not a good coach, two, not a good person, and three, just not good. Get it out. Get it out of like you treat it almost like a virus. You're not gonna get well overnight, but you get the thing out, the negative thing out, you get the illness thing out, and then you've got a little bit more time that your body can start to recoup and get better and do the things it needs to do to heal itself rather than thinking that those 5 games are going to save or 6 games are going to save your season. They
Mm.
can't. They've lost 8 games. The best they can go now is they'll lose on Sunday. I don't care. So call it 2-9. The best they can go is 8-9. That's not making, and they're not going to win all 6 of them. And 8-9 would the greatest thing they can do would not make the playoffs. So it is what it is. But I think Matt Eberflus has to be there. And here's the bit of context, sorry, that I wanted to throw at you, was the Bears have the Packers at home, the Vikings at home. Then they're on the road to the Lions on a short week.
That's Thanksgiving.
Yep. 3 weeks you've got 3 divisional opponents. 2 of them are at home. You don't even get the benefit of the Vikings and the Lions, who are both dome teams, in December. Like you major benefit to you if you get them in December. The temperature's getting cold now, but it's not too cold. Okay, you get the Lions at the end of December at home. But then you've got the 49ers who are on a resurgence. Then you've got the Vikings on the road, the Lions at home, and by that point, the Lions. I kind of hope the Lions are starting to get ready to rest some players. Could win the division there and then. Then you've got the Seahawks at home and the Green Bay Packers away. So realistically, and I mean truly realistically, they can lose 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of 6 of the next 2 games. Go one
Mm.
and four in, go 0-5 in the division in the next 6 games. I, what do you do then? Because if you if you lose the next 6, which it's very easy to do, you go 4-11. And you go from look at the Bears, everyone in the NFC North is over 500 to oh those poor Bears, oh the Bears, oh for crying out loud the Bears, very
Uh,
very quickly, and the Seahawks and Packers might. The Packers might still be fighting for a playoff spot on that game. The Seattle Seahawks might still be fighting for a playoff game or even a division at that point. You're fighting for shit all.
yeah.
You're fighting to make sure Caleb Williams breaks the Jay Cutler curse on rookie QBs. I call it the Jay Cutler curse. It's not actually called that, but you're fighting to make
That's
sure
the best.
Caleb
That's the
Williams
best
gets that.
quarterback they've had in the last 25 years. By the way, just
You're
saying.
fighting to give Caleb Williams the rookie passing record at a pathetically low number anyway. Like you talk like this is a monument. I say monumental. This is a the Bears have just gone. Poof, they've nosedived. And that's gonna get ugly. Like truly, from the bottom, that's gonna get ugly very, very quickly if they're not careful. And Matt Eberflus, if you go 0-3 in that stretch, 0-3 in the division, if you by Christmas you're 0-5 in the division, and that man cannot coach for shit. I tell you what damage that is doing. If he can't coach a quarterback and he's holding the quarterback back, you're stunting Caleb Williams' growth to 3 games a year.
And look what happened to Mitchell Trubisky. Look what happened to Justin Fields. It's wash, rinse, repeat all over again.
Don't you get 17. If you're unlucky, you get 17 games a year with that quarterback. If you truly buy three-quarters of the way through the season, go, this guy is not going doing any good for our quarterback. That's a quarter of a season you've lost to developing your quarterback.
Mm.
That's 4 to 5 games where you could have been getting your QB learning and getting used to the NFL. It's fine. It's his first season. It's okay. You're screwing him for a quarter of his first season, 25% of it at least.
Can I give you an analogy regarding of this between with Caleb Williams and that, and obviously with the Bears?
Go
When
for it.
you draft a rookie quarterback, especially in the first round, especially very, very high up, it's a bit like you're getting married. It's a bit like you're getting married to someone. What the Bears are doing is they've got Caleb Williams, but they're dating him. They're not like going all in on him, not trying to help him so much.
Yeah.
Because I've never been married. I've never been married before, and I probably never will get married. Okay, but one thing you don't do was you don't bail on your wife. You never ever do that. And
Yeah.
that's kind of what the Bears are doing with Caleb Williams. They're almost on the verge of bailing out on him. He needs growth. He needs nurturing. He needs being pointed in the right direction. He needs to be helped through this adversity. And if the Bears don't do this, they are going to ruin yet another quarterback. Not just any quarterback,
Yeah.
a real generational talent that we haven't seen in decades. So yeah, drafting a quarterback is like being in a marriage. You're in for the long haul.
Could not agree more in much of that. And I say that's someone who is married. Um, and I hope that this marriage isn't a Bears quarterback marriage. I hope this is a New England Patriots and a sixth round draft pick marriage. Um, in fact, no, that didn't end up very well in the end. He went
No, it
somewhere
did.
else, and
It was by
well,
accident.
yeah, I the period together was great, but then they fuck off and do it with someone else instead. Then like, nah.
After
Um,
20 years, yeah.
after 20
Okay.
years.
Okay.
Um,
That's the biggest backhanded compliment ever.
yeah,
But anyway.
so that was I just didn't think. You just get to the end of it and you're just like, wait, hang on. It sounds right when you say it, but then it doesn't.
No.
Um, so what we'll do is we'll move on from that one really quickly.
Yes, please.
Um, and let's talk about our wonderful sponsors again, Fantasy Game Day, the first and only UK-based NFL daily fantasy app. They are wonderful, wonderful people. We're very honored to be partnered with them. They're great. If you are unaware what daily fantasy is, Karl, can you explain this? How well can you explain this one?
Okay, so daily fantasy is basically it's a daily fantasy where you pick one QB and four super flex positions of certain players who you think is going to add the best value. So if you want if you want my own personal opinion, I will just where is my statistics here?
So
Go
I'll
on.
I'll give you this. It's like a bet meets Fantasy Premier League meets Fantasy NFL. Oh, it's like all three of
It's
them had a
it's
baby.
it's the best of all three worlds.
It's the best of all three worlds. You enter a game, various different stakes are available. They have games from as little as £3 to as much as £25 for those of you high rollers. But oh, oof, no, we'll talk about them high rollers in a second. But for you high rollers, there are games for that you can enter for up to £25, games for as little as £3. You get given a lineup and you get given a budget like Fantasy Premier League, and you get given a lineup, roster spots like in any fantasy football game. Sometimes they are a captain and four super flex. Sometimes it's a QB, two running back, captain, quarterback, two running backs, one, two running backs, one, two wide receivers, tight end, that sort of thing. Those are the type of things you'll get in there. You fill out your roster within the budget, and then it plays like fantasy football throughout the day. You pick up your points as players you put in your team do well, and whoever gets the most points wins a cash return at the end. On the high rollers, though, if you are not a high roller, don't pretend to be. It's for 18 plus only. gamble responsibly. I have had problems with apparently encouraging children to gamble before on a previous podcast, and I'm not going to do that now. You have to be over 18 and you have to do it responsibly, or there'll be trouble.
Mm.
Um, so, anyway, with that in mind, if you want to play and you are over 18 and you will promise us that you will gamble responsibly, go to fantasygameday.app, link in bio, link in description, and when you sign up, find the app in your app store, sign up, use code HRDLE, that's hurdle without the U, HRDLE. You will get, once you deposit and play, you will get a free play worth £7.50 off the generous gentleman at Fantasy Game Day, because you told, like, because they're our friends, and you say we sent you. You get a free. I think that's just so generous. I can't lie. I think it's really, really generous of them. Um, and it's not, like I say, the £7.50 is not the cheapest it goes. They let you go up stakes. It's wonderful of them. With that in mind, there are multiple games that you can play this weekend, and depending on which player you want, depends on how valuable they are and whatnot. So, Carl,
Yes.
we're gonna both have a bit of a flutter this weekend. Who are you looking at in terms of value this week on Fantasy Game Day?
So the two I've got in mind, the first one is going to absolutely shock you. So obviously, old man Flacco is now back on the bench slash retirement home because he hasn't led the Colts to any wins in the last 2 weeks. So guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Anthony Richardson is back, and you should put him in your lineup. Fifth in carries per game at 6.8, fifth in red zone carries per game at 1.7. The New York Jets, they've given up 133.9 rushing yards per game, which is eighth in the NFL. That's very appalling considering the fact that Anthony Richardson is averaging the fifth most rushing yards per game, 40.3 amongst all quarterbacks. And keep it in mind as well, he is first in air yards per attempt at 12.8 and second in pace to play at 2.26. This is absolutely it's going to be one of my most riskiest must-start calls and probably something you put on your bet. But I trust his dual threat ability of Anthony Richardson to provide a legitimate fantasy value against the Jets. I seriously believe that we will see a more calculated and pissed off version of Anthony Richardson with a huge chip on his shoulder this Sunday. So if you want to go for Anthony Richardson, then be my guest. He's at 5,000 points, so a good one to have at your QB position. And the other one I'm taking is a wide receiver. So obviously the San Francisco 49ers are taking on the Seattle Seahawks. Receiver, I'm going to say the take, even though DK Metcalf could be back for this game, Jackson Smith-Njigba. First in slot snaps at 422, fourth in routes run at 357. JSN's coming off his best fantasy performance of his career, 37 points, followed by Seattle's bye. I'd like to point out that DK Metcalf will be back, as I've already said. He was a full participant in practice, so it looks like he is playing. Here's some notable information. Second in total route wins at 144. Seventh in yards after catch at 244. With CMC back, Christian McCaffrey, I expect the 49ers to play some quality football, but they will control this game. That being said, I'm anticipating a very favorable game script for JSN. That includes Geno Smith having to throw the ball 40 plus times to keep this game within reach. His production in 2024, ninth in receptions with 50, 15th in receiving yards, 568. So that's who I would go for. That's as if as well you trust Geno Smith to not make turnovers, which against the 49ers defense is probably going to at least happen.
Yeah.
So if we want to bet on turnovers by Geno Smith, take the 1.5 over on that one.
I'll be honest with you. I'm not a big fan of this week's games.
What, for
So
betting purposes or just in general?
just in a lot of it in general. But what I am looking at, and I will say this, I'm not like Sam and Karl, I play a lot of fantasy football, but I wing it every week. So far, it's working in some of my leagues. I'm not gonna lie. But what I will say is there are a few games out there that I'm just looking at and thinking, right, okay, who would I be looking at in that game and going, or what teams am I looking, what things in general am I looking at in games and going, okay. Um, So I'm looking at the fact that the Jags have a terrible defense. Terrible. I don't think their defense is very good at all. We're talking about what the Lions did on Sunday and how bad that first half especially was, but the first three quarters were terrible. I expect the Lions to respond and respond in a nasty way. I really, really do. So I would be looking at just about any offensive player for Detroit. Jared Goff is not a great fantasy QB. He's a great QB in my opinion, but he's not a great fantasy QB because he doesn't put up those kinds of numbers. So I wouldn't necessarily be looking at Goff in terms of a fantasy point of view, but I would be looking at your Amon-Ra St. Browns, although he's quite expensive. I think he'll give you a good return, especially this weekend. But I'd be also looking at the potential for now. Where has he gone? Jameson Williams. I will shout out for Jameson Williams because he came back last week and saw a couple of targets off Goff. We know how good they were getting on for the first few weeks of this season. Jameson Williams always has a 50-yard touchdown in his bag, and for what is he, 4,400? That could
Yep.
always be an option. Tim Patrick for 2,000. If you're really strapped for someone and you've got like 2 grand left, 2.5 grand left, Tim Patrick would also be one I'd be looking at as a like a wide receiver 3, 4 type player in fantasy football because he will see targets and he's starting to take last year's Josh Reynolds role for the Lions, where in times of trouble he's a big body that he can just throw to in in tight situations. I'm also looking at avoiding most Chiefs offensive players. I'll be honest with you. I'd be looking at avoiding a lot of Bills offensive players in general. Um, But other than that, I think I'm very much unsure of what will be this week in terms of value because some of the matchups just don't make a lot of sense. Um, so especially in terms of where you're gonna find value. So that's my only real one, and I know makes me sound like a homer, but I'm looking quite close to home this week. Um, at the Lions, and that's just the way I'm about it, and potentially even for the running backs. So I see us
So
going up a lot
yeah, I
early.
think there's one receiver I could say could be a sleeper. Might actually be of some value is Jacoby Myers.
That's a good shout. That is a good
Yeah,
shout.
Jacoby,
Um,
Jacoby Myers is not
and
is not a bad option.
just to add to the hominess of what I'm doing, also go for Drake London of the Atlanta Falcons because
Might be not.
no. Listen, I've got a solid reasoning for this. Drake London was on a podcast a couple of days ago called the St. Brown Brothers Podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And on that podcast, he decided to inform the world that he grew up a Detroit Lions fan. So he's going off this weekend. Um, and his career has now been set. And wait for him to one day be a future Detroit Lion. So I think logically that stands as why he's going to have a great game. Now, with that in mind, that is it for Fantasy Game Day this week. I will be more prepared on this one next week, I promise. And I'm sorry, Fantasy Game Day guys, but if you want to have a go and come and compete against Karl, me, and maybe a couple of the other Hurdle the Line guys and a few others, download Fantasy Game Day, sign up using code HRDLE with all the links in our bio. Sign up using code HRDLE. Once you deposit and play, you will get a free play worth £7.50 just for saying that we sent you. You lucky sod. I didn't get that. I signed up ages ago and I didn't get that because I wasn't lucky enough to have heard all the lines send me over at that point. I didn't. We meant nothing to them.
Well,
Um.
if it makes it easier for you, I had my first go on it and I didn't win any money. So there we
Oh,
go.
devastated, my friend. Devastated. Good luck at the weekend. Not too much luck, as if depends if we're in the same game or not. If we're not in the same game, best of luck, Carl. If we are in the same game, fuck you. Joking. Good luck, but not that much good luck. Um, and yeah, we'll see that. Then I think that's it for the episode. Unless there's anything you particularly want to cover right now and want to speak about.
No, I think in the pick'ems we will cover. the games. Obviously, we've got Thursday night football
Yeah.
tonight. The big clash between the NFC East teams, the
Yes.
Washington Commanders and the Philadelphia
I
Eagles.
can't wait.
Back to back Thursday night games where it looks very, very good on paper. Um,
Yeah, but do you know what? No, 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 no. I'm sick of this, and I'm sick of the NFL this year. Right? It's winding me up. The one year where I really cannot get my sleeping schedule into any sort of a realistic pattern. And do you know what? Sunday night football and Monday night football do Thursday night football things. I am sick of it. Carl, I'm sick of it.
it's what it is, unfortunately.
They're all Thursday night footballs.
It's all about the money. It's all about the money.
Um, so if you didn't know, it's winding me up a little bit. Um, but yeah, with that in mind, I will see you next week, Carl, and we'll see you on Sunday for the pick'ems, and then
Indeed.